I caught my little virtual feelings. This is someone that I wanted to spend my virtual time with, and I was like, okay, but he's made it clear that he doesn't do relationships and he doesn't do exclusivity.
You're not like the others, no. No changing behaviors. Not sure how to act around you. So colorful and bright, yeah. I wanna be a 9 to 5. You made me come alive, babe. I wanna be the time of your life. Come change my life just for a while.
Alright, hey honey buns, welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time here ever, welcome for the first time. Today we are talking about second life relationships because I just had a friendship breakup, y'all, and it's literally because my opinion and my outlook on second life relationships has changed so drastically that a friendship that I had recently wasn't sustainable for me anymore. Complicated. But like this whole situation has made me really evaluate the different types of virtual relationships that exist and what I may be interested in and like why I even involve myself in this space at all. But my opinions have changed on them. I made a video previously about second life relationships. I'll link it here or here. I don't know which side. I never know. You'll see my opinions very different then. I also share like more history on my second life relationships in that video, so go check that out if you haven't. It's super old, different opinions. A lot has gone down this past year, what can I say, and it's changed my outlook on a lot of things. I'm gonna talk about like my previous stance on virtual relationships, the different types of relationships that exist, and then the story time about how my difference in opinion led to my friendship breakup. Also, I hope this video is useful for people who are trying to figure out what these virtual relationships look like, whether it's the person participating in them or if it's like someone's real life partner that's trying to get an understanding of what their significant other is doing online. I hope it's helpful for the person who may not be able to fully explain or articulate what they're doing in these like virtual relationships. I'm doing a lot with this hand. Let's get into it, and while I do it, I'm gonna do this makeup look. I haven't washed my face. I should have washed my face, but I didn't. It's like 5 p.m. This is the face I've been in all day, but I'm still about to do, now I'm gonna go wash it. Face is washed, camera's tweaking out. So anyway, my opinions on relationships, and I don't even want to specifically say second life because I feel like I've been venturing out and exploring a lot more things just online in terms of like different gaming communities and just like connecting with people even just on Discord or different communities that I'm in virtually. So I'm gonna say my opinion on virtual relationships in general. Like I've done some research and this is just what I've observed. So I'm gonna share my observations for anyone who's like kind of curious about what I mean by virtual relationships. I really want to define the different types there are and the kind that I am most drawn to. And I feel like one thing that's come up in a lot of conversations this year about them, and even like some of the conversations that I'm having with people that I know, some people engage in these different virtual relationships when they have partners or girlfriend, boyfriends, whatever in real life. So there's always that question like, is it cheating? And I think when we identify the different types of relationships, we can kind of paint a very clear picture on what could possibly be cheating. And again, we don't know what people's relationships are. I'm gonna spill a lot of details. I'm gonna be very transparent about it. So like, I'm gonna be very upfront about the type of things that I've done online, the type of things that people talk about doing online, things I've seen on social media that other people talk about and tell me about. If you're a little shy when it comes to romance or relationships or like talk of sex, maybe ignore this one because we're gonna get into it. And I'm gonna do my nails first. I've been doing my nails. I can't go to a salon. I've recently had surgery. I can't even sit for longer than 10 minutes. So the fact that I'm filming this video for the 3rd time now, the first time was before surgery, so no big deal. But I filmed it yesterday. I didn't like, but when we get to like the whole situation with me and the friend that I broke up with, I don't want to put as much blame on the friend as I think it was like coming across as. I think, you know, this is gonna be a video where I'm just gonna have to be real with y'all. We're gonna get real vulnerable for a minute. And yesterday, I think I was tiptoeing on my own vulnerability. So the blame seemed to shift on that person. Let's not do that today. All right, so I've been doing my own nails. I've been using press-on nails because I've kind of fallen in love with it. A lot of them come with designs. The kit that I'm using now has no designs, which I'm so sad about because the ones that I used yesterday were super cute and had all these fancy designs and stuff, but I broke all those off and lost them.
Come change my life just for a while. Let's go for a ride now. Outside the club, we come alive. Let's go for a ride.
Nails are done. They're not like fabulous. I'm not gonna zoom in on these ones. I'll put it in the clip of the start from yesterday. Okay, so what I used to think about second life relationships. One thing I realized after filming this video before is I don't quite know why I entertain these. I think that's a question that needs to be answered before you start like really getting yourself involved in them. Like, why do you even want one to begin with? Because for me, I'm not looking for like a real life partner or anything. I'm just kind of I just like the companionship. I like having a partner or someone to experience these different virtual spaces with me. I like for it to be, I don't know, like flirtatious and sensual sometimes. I think that's a good first step before getting involved with anyone, is figuring out why you yourself want to involve yourself in this kind of space. I'm gonna put my stained headband on. All right, but basically what I used to think about SL relationships, and you can check out my video. I have like, I think more details on my like relationship history and what all of my relationships have looked like and how many I've been in and how long they were and all those details. But for me, it was always just SL only. So I'm trying to make this more broad and virtual, but before it was just only SL. When I log in, that's when I see you, that's when I talk to you. I don't even want to really know any of your real life details. We were just kind of exploring Second Life together, and we were like, I always call it like Barbie boyfriend and girlfriend, like playing house. You know, we still treat it like a relationship. Like, it has some of the concepts of real life relationships, but it's only in Second Life. And this is not a person that I'm thinking about when I log off. We're not talking outside of SL. I don't know anything about them. Don't know their name, their age. I mean, just know that they're an adult. Don't know where they live. Don't know what they do for work. And I've had very many of those relationships, and they've been pretty long relationships. Like, I think the longest was like 2 or 3 years. I think they were all like 2 years. I don't know. But I used to always get that question asked, like, what do you even talk about if you don't need to, like, if you're not talking about details? And I really think you can still get to know a person very well beyond just the like minute details of their life. So like, I don't need to know your name and where you're from and all this to really get to know you and your thought process and your philosophies and things that are, and what your values are and all of that. Like, I think, you know, there's still a way to really connect with people beyond the details of our life. And that's what I used to really like about it. And that's what I always appreciate about it. That's why I say before, I think it was easy for me to identify why I liked having these little SL relationships. Because one, it gives you someone to like do things with an SL, to like, that's beyond friendship, like someone you want to do special things with and go on dates and dancing and whatever, you know, get into 18 plus activities, whatever you want to do, you have someone to do it with. That's why I always liked relationships versus just like having the whole grid to do it with. That's also an option, but I was always drawn to having my person for that. And that was when I was just more active on SL. So, you know, with those, because it was also SL only, we didn't share photos. We didn't even voice. I didn't voice in SL until like the year that I started on YouTube. So we wouldn't voice. We didn't share videos, any of that. It was all through text, and it was only in Second Life. So I think when I'm thinking about those type of relationships, it really is just like having an activity partner, having someone that is your companion as you experience whatever your experience is in SL. With my first partner, that was not only like exploring the grid or exploring Second Life, but it was also like creating different businesses together. We created the Monarchy together, my first community sim together, and we like handled all that together. We went through all those things. We learned a lot about everything that I do now in Second Life. I did it with this person. So I feel like I'm always going to remember this, my first partner, like forever, because everything that I started with him. And so I really value and appreciate that type of connection. We did end up becoming friends, and I think like toward the end, because Discord and stuff wasn't that big back then, so I wasn't really like talking to him or anyone outside of that. But I remember Kick was the thing, so at one point we did get on Kick, but I still feel like it wasn't for us to just like continue our relationship outside of SL. It was, we were connecting with all of our friends now. We had group chats on Kick and everything, so there wasn't all that much. It just like made coordinating a little easier, so we would know like, hey, you're gonna be on tonight kind of thing. That's as deep as that really got. And that's how all of my relationships after that had been. And I always made it very clear in the beginning. And I remember back then, or even like recently, there's always that like divide between people who have those type of relationships and people who have the type of relationships where they want it to cross over into real life. That was never my interest. So I never wanted to connect with people like that. And I think there's always been this like back and forth. There are people on SL that'll be like, if you don't voice, don't talk to me. If you're not going to share pictures, don't talk to me. That kind of crazy stuff. So I was like, I'm going to keep it separate. I'm using this little Morphe brow tool. I actually need to go to Morphe before this runs out, like tomorrow. But I'm nervous because my mom's with me, and if I take her into a Morphe store, she's going to buy the whole store, even though she never ends up using her makeup. I should do a video with her. I should do her makeup. I'm no good at doing other people's makeup, but that's just my experience. That was my experience with relationships. People still have these relationships, of course, because it's still very common to like not want to come here and have any real attachments, and like they're sustainable, because people always ask me like, how do you keep that up for years? it worked. Like, there was no need to cross it over into real life, even after years. No real feelings developed. It was just Second Life. One thing I have learned about like the internet, it's still a little nuanced. Like, you still have some sort of feelings for this person, or you have some sort of something. So you're like kind of invested, because I think like me and my first partner could get into arguments, but like it wasn't deep. It's not something that I would think about when I logged off. Siren. So it wasn't that deep. It's not something that I would think about or hold on to. Maybe I'll hold on to the next time I see him and be like, oh yeah, I'm mad at him. I don't know. I really need to know the psychology behind it, because it's not something that like upset me on a level that, like, say my real life partner cheated on me, I'd be super upset. If it happened in an SL, it's more just like a betrayal, like a waste of time, but you're not like heartbroken. You might be a little disappointed because you're not going to have this person in your life anymore, or like that you're irritated, but it's like not the same level. I don't know. That was mine. So now I kind of want to get into the different types of virtual relationships that do exist. I have identified 7. Me and this camera. But I have identified 7. I think there are 7 that I've witnessed, that I've heard about through people's experiences, that I've read about, or, you know, just to do through my nosy little bit of research. It's just me being all up in people's business, and just what I've experienced and some of the conversations that I've had with people that I've been interested in. And, you know, you have to have these conversations with whoever you're interested in, so you know if you're on the same page or not. There are 7. The first one, and I think this transcend Second Life. So now we're gonna get into like the part where I'm not so focused on just talking about Second Life. I played a lot of GTA this year. I got into a lot of different GTA communities, and I met a lot of people through the GTA, and I've had I've had a lot of GTA relationships. And I think the first one that applies to both like GTA, Second Life, and probably any other type of games, especially different role play games, is the role play girlfriend or boyfriend, the role play relationship. The in character only, and this can apply to SL, GTA, because in SL it's a little different because there are role play communities. So someone who may be your friend in SL could potentially be like your romantic interest in role play, but it's very separate. I think this is even a step back from what I had going on with like my old Second Life partner, who I did meet in role play, but it developed more beyond that. So this is someone you're just building a story with. This is someone that you have a storyline with. They fit into a story. It's all about role play. There really isn't anything emotional about it. I say that, but I think I've learned more in GTA than anything that people have their emotions all types of wrapped up in these communities and these games. It's more in GTA than I've ever seen before, than I've ever even witnessed or experienced in Second Life. Like, just go on YouTube and look up some GTA fights. Like, people are screaming at each other. People get so pissed about things and so passionate and so like emotionally involved in a way that I've never seen in Second Life, in a way that I didn't expect, because you don't see that in roleplay in Second Life. So I didn't think you would see it in GTA roleplay at all, but people get into it. So you can only imagine if people are that passionate, that when they have these little like GTA relationships, they can also invoke a serious level of passion. It's interesting. So yeah, the roleplay only, in character only, you're not really talking much outside of character or out of character. You're not really talking about anything but your characters. Like, one, your character could have a completely different name than you, or the account that you use in SL, or the whatever. It could be completely focused. Like, nothing about it is personal. It's all about your characters and however you develop them. Good role players, of course, can keep that very separate from who they are or what they feel or what they think in their personal lives or out of characters. Sometimes people mix the two, and that's where it can get messy. But if the agreement is to have an in-character only role play relationship, that is just like playtime. That's one where I think if you have a real life relationship, that really doesn't matter, because that's just like basically playing house but on the internet. I always say role play is like playing Barbies. The second type of relationship I think is similar. So it's in-game only. If you're in one of these role play communities, you may be in a role play relationship with one another. If it's Second Life, you may just have like what I was experiencing, that, or explaining like my first experience. So you may just know this person in Second Life, whether you roleplay or not, but it also incorporates these out of character components. So it's not necessarily focused on the roleplay. It may include some roleplay, but it's not only roleplay. And I think this is a type of relationship that I had previously. So this was my experience where, you know, you're there, you're just experiencing things together, but you are also getting to know the person out of character. So you're not just focused on their character, you're getting to know who they are as just a person. And I think in SL, you know, that's common. We know what that looks like. I think in GTA, this was something that was a little different, because you're still like in a relationship with this person. You're acknowledging that you're in a relationship with this person. So something about whatever your connection is with this person is special and unique to you. This is the most common in Second Life, and it's not as common in GTA. So I think that was what was weird about the crossover. For me, this was what was weird getting used to. And this was what like people who had never played SL and had only been like in GTA, we didn't always like fully understand what we were involved in at first. Back to this, the first one, roleplay only. It's all about your characters, not about you. You might know this person out of character, but like what they do out of character you really don't care about. The second one, you are in a roleplay relationship possibly, but it's not necessarily. Your whole connection is still special in some sort of way, romantic we'll say, out of character as well. This one I still think could be relatively safe for people in relationships. You only experience this person when you're playing. That's why I think it might be a little murkier in GTA, because in SL it's different. You could be logged in to SL but not at a roleplay community and still interacting with the person you're with, and then choose to go roleplay. In GTA, when you're in the game, you're in there. So your interaction with this person is usually like through Discord or something. I think that's where it can get a little murky, because you're experiencing things together and you're like partners or you're in a relationship, but it's not necessarily in the game. So it's a little more complex and complicated than I think on the SL side, because on the SL side, having that type of relationship doesn't necessarily relate at all to a real life one, and a real life partner would probably, like, I would still be comfortable if I was with someone and they had that type of relationship going on. Whereas in GTA it's a little different, because you're out of character and you're on Discord, so you're still getting to know this person on like a really personal level out of the game, and now you don't even have like the platform or the foundation or the mechanism of the game keeping you separated from your real life. And I think that's where it can get a little complicated, but tell me what y'all think about that, because it was different. Anyone that's done both, let me know, because I know my first two little like GTA relationships, that's where it got complicated. And I've had a couple of different types of GTA relationships. Like I've done primarily just like the end character only, this is just for play, this is just for a story, this is just for like my stream. Granted, they were kind of all just for my stream, but then I've had a couple that we had some like out of character connection, even if it was just like flirting and messing around with each other, but my battery died. I don't even know what I was saying. Wherever we left off, we left off. Next one, the third one is what I would consider your internet girlfriend or boyfriend. This is just your internet, this is your virtual relationship. It's not specific or completely focused on one game. You may play different games together, you may go into different communities together. It's PG. I'm gonna separate these two, because I'm gonna say the PG internet or gamer boyfriend or girlfriend, and then I'm gonna do like an 18+ one. But this one I think is kind of similar to the previous one, but the previous one is so focused on one specific platform. This other one is just more so you're not attached to a specific platform. You probably communicate primarily through Discord or maybe Facebook, and it could include like text. It could be in text. It could be, that's why I mentioned the last one. It could be voice. You might video. I don't know about the other one if you would video chat. I feel like this one is where you would get into possibly video chatting, but it's not at all completely related to your character. It's just like this person is only online, it's only virtual, but there's more of an attachment there, I think. This is just your like general internet partner, but it's a PG one. It's just one, you enjoy their company, you're probably flirty, whatever you have, your connection with one another is special to you. That's what I think the difference is in virtual relationships, that whatever it is you have going on, whatever types of conversations you have, whatever your activities look like, it's special to what you have. Like you're not doing this with a bunch of different people unless like that's your agreement, but something about it is special just to you and the person you're in a relationship, or the people that you're in a relationship with. Now this one, I think this is the territory we're starting to get into, where this could be uncomfortable for real life partners. Some people think not, because it's only virtual. You have absolutely no intention of meeting this person in real life. You have no intention of like ever or desire, like you want nothing to do with that. And I know some people are like, well, you don't know where things are gonna go. Some people do know very damn well that they're never gonna meet this person in real life, like, or not even be interested. Like I've had, I think, situations like this, kind of. I think some of my like GTA friendships have kind of been like this. I wasn't even attracted to these people in real life. So like, I know good and damn well there's nothing I want from this person in real life. It's just something fun and enjoyable online. So some people, real life partners, would have no issue with that. Some would. So it's really up to the person that's in the real life relationship to make sure they're very clear with their partner what's going down in their little virtual relationship. Now, what I've identified as the fourth one is that same exact relationship, but with 18 plus activities. So that could be sexting, that could be erotic role play. Apparently they do it in GTA too. It could be, and when I say erotic role play, so in GTA it's kind of corny and cringy, but in SL it could include like text emoting, which is basically describing actions and dialogue, like you're writing basically an erotic story with another person. And you also have a lot of animations, and it includes your avatar. So in SL, we know avatars are incredibly detailed and realistic. So are the animations. They use motion capture animations. They use motion capture sex animations in Second Life. So things are a little saucy. That's another one that's very different. And it depends, right? Because like in GTA, I don't think anyone's doing ERP to like be aroused. I don't know, maybe. I can't imagine it. It's just so cheesy. It's so silly. Like when you see it, it's just funny. Like I think my little GTA relationships when we did ERP was kind of for story progression and just like us being stupid, because we would be laughing and making jokes the whole time, and I could never like get into it or take it serious. It was just hilarious to me. In Second Life, people use these like tools to actually, you know, get off. So it's a very different situation. And beyond just text, it could also include voice stuff. So people do 18 plus like adult voice stuff. So it could be either voice emoting or voice sex. And what's funny is like I've realized recently I genuinely hate voice emoting. Like I know to each their own, some people are into it. I cannot even, like I cringe so much. And there are two types of voice sex to me. Like there's voice emoting where people are doing exactly what they would do in text emoting. So they're describing their actions. They also have some dialogue worked in there, but it's like basically voice role play. So they're like, yeah, I come into your room and I take off your top, and like, you know, they're like explaining stuff. For me, that is so cringe. I hate it. Every time I get into a situation, the person starts doing that, I'm just like, oh my God, how do I get out of this? I can't stay serious. I'm like a clown, so I can't do that. The other type of like voice play are just people that are kind of, you recognize that you're in different places. You're talking about what you're doing over there. I could be talking about what I'm doing over here. It could be like kind of commanding each other, you know, JOI situations, sounds, all of that. Y'all know what goes down. So it's one of those situations. I think those are two very different. I think before you get into it, you should, you need to figure out which the other person does, because honey, I had this happen recently where someone started to get into voice emoting and I just didn't say anything. And I was just like, how long can I just continue not saying anything before they notice? And they didn't notice. Don't do that while talking about sex. But yeah, so that's the fourth type. It's your internet boyfriend or girlfriend. Something about your connection with one another is special and unique to you. You're not having these exact conversations or experiences with other people, and you also have an adult component involved. So you may be sharing photos, videos, you may be doing like text role play or possibly voice role play or just straight up voice sex. Okay, so that's 4. I think I linger somewhere between 4 and what my next one is. My next one is like, I'm gonna use the word romantic. I don't know how like romantic these situations are. I mean, I guess, but it's the one where it's just like the previous one. So you're virtually romantic. This is your internet boyfriend or girlfriend. You may be doing adult stuff or you may be a PG version, but you still don't want anything in real life, but you may be friends with this person in real life. So this could be someone who you maybe know a little bit more about their real life. You're not really interested in being with them in real life. You are just friends. So even if you met, you would just assume a friendship with them. You know, who knows where that could go after that, maybe, but that is not your primary focus of making this a romantic interest in your real life. This is just simply a friend in real life with virtual benefits, basically. So I've seen these situations where it could be someone that you know in real life first, and then you do all this virtually, or it's someone you met virtually, but you've connected or you've become such good friends that it's also a real friendship. In real life, you know more about their real life than normal, and you may possibly meet, but you're gonna meet and you're only gonna be friends. It's not gonna be anything else. I think this is where I fall now, and it's so far from where I started off in these virtual relationships. So I think it probably really was GTA and just getting comfortable with meeting people that I knew in GTA in real life. Granted, you want to always be safe and all those things, but you know, I've met people from GTA in real life and it was just like super casual. It wasn't weird, and it was so much earlier than in SL, because I feel like people in Second Life are just so anonymous. In GTA, people are kind of just themselves from the beginning, so It wasn't weird, and it just like, it felt like these were real friends that I was making. Like I feel like I've only been playing GTA for less than a year now, but I feel like the friends that I made on the GTA side, I made more real actual friendships than I have in Second Life. And I've been in Second Life for like 10 years or something. This eyebrow is crazy. What happened? Did it get worse or did it start off that way? But yeah, this is where I am now, where I want to have, or I like to have, this like virtual relationship. Whatever it is that we have going on, we experience whatever we experience together, whether it be different games or it's just the conversations that we have in Discord. And whatever our situation is, it's unique to our situation. We'll talk about my experience, but that could be, you know, watching movies together, chatting a lot, possibly calling each other. I got a little caught up this time. We were falling asleep with each other on the phone. They didn't know my real life phone number. It was only through Discord and like Facebook. So there's still a separation. And me and this person never got to the point where we became like real life friends. But I could see myself open to the idea of being real life friends with someone that I have virtual benefits with. I'm okay with that if I feel like I can trust them. If they like passed my serial killer checks. That's number 5. Number 6, I think, is that same type of relationship. So you're internet romantic. It could be the PG, I think it would be like maybe the adult one, depending on what you're comfortable with. But you're also in a real life relationship, but it's long distance because you're not in the same space or in the same country. But this person is also your real life, like long distance relationship. So if you've never had a long distance relationship in real life, you know, they come with all their own conditions. So let's just assume that you're in a monogamous long distance relationship. So whatever you do in real life also impacts whatever your relationship with this person is. So you may have met virtually, but you also have or you may have met like in real life and then you brought it virtually to like keep things spicy. So yeah, you have a real life relationship. So like you could quite possibly be restricted on who you like date in real life and all of that because you're committed to this person. This is like someone you're actually invested in. You probably know more about each other's real lives. You probably like have exchanged phone numbers. You know this person. I guess you could probably have intentions to meet one day, maybe, who knows, but you're in an actual relationship. So you're committed to this person. They've only met online, but you're committed to them. People do this all the time. I think people do this in real life all the time outside of like gaming communities. That's number 6. And then number 7, I think, is the one that that's also very common in SL, is people who are in a virtual relationship and then you also cross over into a real life relationship. So it could start off long distance, but at some point you meet up and that is the goal of your relationship. That is the purpose, that you're committed to each other both virtually and in real life. And sometimes that's also people who bring their real life partners into their virtual space. That's another one that's very common in SL. So that's a whole lot of different options. And I remember before I used to only think about it like our number 2 one, which was like OOC, but online only, don't talk about real life, or this other type where it's virtual and also in real life. Those were the 2 that I acknowledged, and I was like, you need to figure out which one you're into and have that conversation with the other person. And then I was like, wait, I think there are 7 more, or like 5 more. If you have identified a different type of relationship, please comment that below because I'm really interested to know how people are having their relationships and what those look like. Basically, I'm in that number 5 area. And so for me, it's more so, it's a virtual relationship and maybe a real life friendship. It could also just be nothing about real life. For me, I'm not really concerned to come here and even meet like friends online to bring to real life. Like I do like keeping my real life completely out of it and this just being like my play zone, my fun time. But I don't mind like having one of these relationships with someone who talks about their real life stuff, and if they're like stressed out about work or something, they can talk about like what's going on in their real life and not feel restricted, because I'm like, don't tell me anything about real life and I'm not telling you anything. I think it's just about like slowly getting to a place where you're comfortable and you're just sharing more. So that's what I think, that's where I am, that's what I'm interested in. That's where I think this friendship that I had was like doing. So for me, again, these type of relationships is not at all about like being in a game together, because I think that would be like the number 2 one where you're focused on the game but you're kind of there for each other. So it's not about being in the game. Like I could have this virtual relationship completely through Discord. I don't get in any game kind of consistently anymore. I just don't. Like I'm not on GTA much right now. At all actually right now, and I'm not in SL much either. I get on there when I need to. Right now I'm kind of taking a break. In the future I might get on more, but I know I don't want to commit to like being on one platform or commit to having a specific amount of time there. But you know, this is my virtual partner. If we could arrange to meet up in one of these games, awesome. If not, that's not the focus of it anyway. So I think by the end of this video, I really need to figure out why I like these, why I'm entertaining them, and why I'm getting involved. But let's get into this friendship breakup. Okay, but basically, so that's where I was. I think on my second type of relationship that was like that from GTA. So I had one in GTA that lasted months. Like, I want to say from like October or November to like maybe January. And that one was drama. But I honestly think that was like my nemesis. And for some reason, like I feel like I said it in the end of it, I think he and I should have been like siblings, like virtual siblings, because all we did was fight, but somehow we like stuck around. And then I had another one after that wasn't from GTA, but it was another like virtual one from someone that I met through streaming, and we were just chill. That one was chill. That only lasted like a month. I don't know, we just lost interest. Who knows why these things die. After that one, I was like, okay, but I like this. I like these where I can just like connect with someone, and someone I can like Discord message throughout the day. We can like laugh and joke. We might call each other a couple times a week. We might watch a movie together. But I like these relationships, and I was into it. And we're also like virtually claiming each other. So again, something about whatever we're doing with one another is special to us. But that one ended, and it was like, it was cordial. It wasn't anything big. And I remember thinking like, oh, let me go back to SL and like let me find one of these in SL where I can have like someone to like explore SL with, quite possibly. But I wasn't getting to SL much, so I knew that wouldn't be like a huge deal. But someone from that community that understood that community, that I could be like, that I could talk about my YouTube stuff with if I wanted to, I don't know, would just be like there for entertainment, just someone to have a good time with and have like good conversations with. That's another thing. I like having like finding people that are really good conversationalists. The person before, they were just such a good conversationalist. I'm like, I learned so much about them and myself through it. And I think that's what I find the most appealing and interesting. So I remember what was interesting about the friend, so we're now getting to the friendship that I just had a breakup with. I had literally thought about them. So as I was in that transition, coming back more to SL and saying like, oh, I kind of want someone over on this side of things this time, I was randomly curious about this person. They had DM'd me apparently for years. Like they had DM'd me so long ago, and there were a couple times that I responded, but we never really had like much of a conversation. We had like a really short conversation once, maybe like a month or so prior. We had a really short conversation, and something about that conversation like came back to memory. And I thought about them on this very specific day where I was like, okay, I want to find someone in SL. So I thought about them. I was like, I'm kind of curious about this person. Before I even really committed to that idea or really looked for them or looked them up or even tried to like remember their name, because I was like, at that point I couldn't even remember like the person's name. I was like, oh, that guy that we talked to like a month ago, I should go like check him out and see like what he's all about. He DM'd me. So I was like, oh, what good timing. So of course I entertained the conversation a little more than I think I ever have. Like I don't think I had ever actually, like although I was responding, I had never really paid attention to our conversations. Because at one point he mentioned that we'd spoken before and I couldn't even remember. Because like that's what happens. When I usually respond to DMs, I'm usually responding to a lot of DMs at once, try to just get through them. So I think that happened last time, but something about him like stuck in my memory, and that's why when I came back around I was like a little curious about this person. So he DMs me, we end up like having a conversation, and this is where I think we fucked up. This is where I think this is where I fucked up. That's why, like, last time I filmed this video, I put a lot of blame on, not necessarily him, but I wasn't taking enough blame or enough credit for things. But this is where I should have left. So when we start talking, he's immediately like talking about other girls a lot. And I'm like, so he was talking about 3 other girls. He was talking about one girl that was like kind of dramatic. Something happened. There was like drama involved. But there was another girl that he acknowledged that he liked. So there was drama because girl number 1, I guess, had a crush on him maybe. And I got the impression they were talking to each other. But then he started posting that he liked another girl. And girl number 1 got a little jealous or upset, and he was like talking about how she was creating a lot of drama and all this. But at that point I was like kind of empathizing with girl number 1. I'm like, well, if you guys are talking and she likes you and then you post about another girl, like I can understand why she'd be upset. I would be upset too. That wasn't the case. Apparently with someone who he hadn't really talked to like that, and they didn't have that type of relationship, or they weren't having those type of conversations. He just said like maybe he was nice to her or something. But then we all know like those dudes who are very nice and it comes off as flirtatious, and it can make you think that he's into you. I interpret it as that situation. Like, granted, later on he was like talking about what the conversation was, and maybe it wasn't that case. Okay, hey honeys, hi from the editing room. I'm gonna interject a few different times. I honestly have learned to maybe not tell a story time so close to when it happened, because over the past few days I have had so many different opinions and changes of emotions and everything that I don't even think this video as I filmed it is completely reflective of how I feel now. So I've learned I need to go through all of my emotions, process them fully before I tell a story time. Lesson learned. This only happened a week ago. I think a week ago today, actually. So, and I filmed this video maybe 2 days after it happened. I thought about completely recording the whole thing over again. And then I was like, 4 times would be too many. So didn't decide to do that. But like I said, the first time I felt like I was like putting blame on him, where that's not the case of the situation. And then the second time, I feel like I was still just protecting myself from looking as vulnerable as I feel like I need to be. Like I said, or like I've decided to now name this video my first virtual heartbreak, because this is the first time I have felt or developed any type of feelings for anyone virtually ever in my life. Like in all my years of playing Second Life, my little year on GTA, people that I've just met virtually, I've never developed any sort of feelings for anyone until now. So I think I need to acknowledge that this was a painful situation for me. And I think, you know, it might be hormones. It's that time of the month right now. But it's been like an emotional few days. And I think I was so hung up on anger, even when I filmed this video, that I couldn't acknowledge that. I didn't want to acknowledge that to myself, so I couldn't put it in a video. But now it is what it is. So let's continue. Oh, no. So what I want to say, I stopped it right here because I think this first conversation I had with him, I held on to this forever. And everyone who knows me, we joke around about me having a terrible memory. Honey, when my memory wants to hold on to something, I could tell you, I could literally probably recite this conversation, this first conversation we had, word for word, because I know absolutely everything that went down in this conversation. But I have to say that I think the impression that I got of him from this first conversation never changed. And this one thing that he said about this girl, or the thing that I collected from his retelling of this situation, was that he's just real friendly, and you can't tell if he actually likes you or if he's just being nice to you. And I think even around that time, he had been making like Facebook statuses about that same thing. Oh, just come nice to you doesn't mean I like you. So I constantly told myself that throughout the entire time I knew him, even though he was telling me the opposite, right? He would tell me that he actually did have feelings and all of this stuff, but I was still holding on to this, and I don't think I ever let it go. And then the third person he was talking about was his ex. Hardcore. First conversation I ever had with this dude, he brought up all 3 of these girls within the first 10 minutes of our conversation. I know, we all like, why did you keep talking? Why would you entertain it? But like, for me, I should have stopped talking at that point, because like I said, I was at the point where I was like, I want to find a companion to experience like my virtual life with right now. And I knew he was not it, and I should have left that alone. That was the curiosity that I grew up for him. Like, I was curious about him in that regard. So when he was talking about this, and I was like, okay, I immediately like put him into a bucket of, we ain't gonna do this right now. So that was like my first red flag. And then also in this first conversation, before I could even determine, like, I wasn't even at the point where I was interested in him. Granted, I grew curious about him, and I grew curious about him because I was looking for one of these type of like companionships, but he kept saying like he would not do anything exclusive, doesn't do exclusive anything. Like, he tells these girls that they knew that they weren't exclusive because he doesn't do exclusive. So I was like, okay, this is one of those situations. But beyond him like ranting on about his other chick or these other girls that he was talking to, and the fact that he doesn't do anything exclusive, I was like, okay, so whatever he's hitting me up for right now, he has these conversations all the time. He must slide into DMs all the time. That was the impression that I got. That is also, I think, still the assumption that I have of him, which is fine. I think you can slide into as many DMs as you want, have as many partners. We know I've been there with my millions of like little SL boyfriends, but it's like I haven't connected with them on my like number 5 type of way. It's always been like a number 1 or a number 2 when it comes to my little SL boyfriends, but now we're transcending into number 5. I'll put on the screen what number 5 was defined as. For me, I also just like respected transparency, because you know, when you get into situations and people like kind of lead you to believe they are one certain way so you could be into them, and then it turns out like they're a completely different way. So I was like, look, he's being real, from the beginning, he's saying from the jump that he talks to multiple girls and he doesn't do anything exclusive. That was the impression I got from that first conversation. And I think that's just, I don't know. I think your first impression is what sticks. Because I think even to this day, that is still the opinion that I have of him. And I don't fault him for it. He's honest and upfront about his interest. Because beyond that, we were having great conversations. And he's like a really, I don't want to say nice guy, because I feel like the nice guy trope is like a code for like an asshole. But he was like really attentive, really great conversationalist. We could have like the types of conversations that I like to have, like not all about, oh, what do you do in real life? Who are you in real life? So we could have like those type of philosophical type conversations. We could talk about different things. We were connecting and like getting to know each other on a different level. But I was, in the back of my mind, I was being very cautious because I was like, this is who he said he is. So I assumed the conversations that we were having, he was having with multiple people because he made such a big deal in our first conversation to say he doesn't do exclusive. And he, I feel like, went out of his way to talk about 3 other women a lot in our first couple of conversations. So I was like, no matter how nice he's being to you or how special he's like, trying to make you feel like he complimented a lot. He knew a lot of details. He listened. He could like say things back that I've mentioned. I was like, no matter how much attention he's giving to you and no matter how hard he's flirting with you, that means nothing. He's doing this with other people because he's made that clear from the beginning. So I was like, no matter what he's showing with his like actions, like these other things, I'm listening to the words that he told me. He told me specifically that is not the case. So I was like, I don't want to be like that first girl that he was talking about where I feel like all of this is special to our situation. Hold on. Yeah, I don't want to be like the girl in his first situation where I feel like something is special to us, but he's thinking like, oh, she's crazy. Like, why would she even think I was into her? Why would she think like we were a thing when I told her? So no matter what, they ain't into you. They want to do this with everyone. Or not everyone, because he made it clear later, I'll talk about it, that he's not doing this with everyone, but he wants to do it with multiple people. So I was like, no matter how he treats me, I'm going to listen to his words because he told me. So my thing is like, he started to contradict that a bit. So for me, if someone starts to contradict, so if you're saying all these things, like everything he said was like, I don't know, left the impression that he wants to do this with multiple people, but then he started to say later that like he wouldn't do that, he doesn't have the time to entertain the people. So like when you start to contradict, then I take everything you say with a grain of salt. Like it would be different if you said, okay, I've gotten to know you and I feel differently and I want to focus on you kind of thing. Okay, here to interject again. What I say here I think is important because at the end of this, I think I trivialized how he felt. I really just didn't think he was in as deep as I was. And I think the way I ended things was super harsh and brash. And it was because no matter what he said, because I literally took everything he said with a grain of salt as it related to like how he felt about our situation. I didn't think he was in that deep. I didn't take him that serious. But this is where that came from. So anyway, from that first conversation, hardcore friend zone. We had just met. I had not yet developed any interest in him. I was kind of turned off from the possibility of developing any interest in him because of how he was talking about all these different girls and talking about the fact that he doesn't do exclusivity. And for me, I'm that type of person. I don't like being an option for someone. Like I either want to be focused on this person and have them focused on me and have something about our situation special to us. I don't just want to be like another option. From the beginning, he made it clear that I would be another option, but then he started to say it wasn't. Like he started to say that, I don't know, that the conversations and stuff that we had was unique to us. Like I said, didn't believe it. He made it clear from the beginning that's not what he was about. So we decided to just be friends, but then he made like a big deal of the fact that I friend zoned him. At that point, I hadn't decided if this was a friend that I actually wanted to get to know and like have a good friendship with, or if I possibly wanted this to be like a fun buddy friend. Those are very different for me. So I have my fun buddy friends and I have my actual friends. So fun buddy friends, we might have a very basic level of friendship. It could go on for years, but you know, we do like adult things here and there occasionally. That is usually primarily why I hit them up, and that's pretty much it. It's a base level of a super basic type of friendship. It's not deep. And then I have my actual friends, which I think anyone who has virtual friends, you can relate. You know that these people are your friends. They're usually completely platonic. It's a friendship that I respect and all that kind of stuff. So for me, those have to be separate. I can have a fun buddy or you could be my real friend. I can't do both. My fun buddies are not my deep friends because that's where you get caught up and develop emotions for people when you don't want to. So you're either my fun buddy or you're my real friend, or you're in a virtual relationship with me, and that is it. At this point, we just like kept talking. I found that it was very easy talking to him, like very quickly. It felt like I knew him for a very long time. I think I was getting very like vulnerable with him very quickly, but like after a few weeks, here we are talking all the time. We would talk, he would like call a lot, we would watch movies together or TV shows together. There were like a couple series that we were watching together. We would fall asleep on the phone, and like granted, the first couple times maybe it was not intentional. It was like we were tired and watching something and I passed the F out and then he passed out. But then it became kind of conscious. Like it became comfortable to just like let it happen. And then at some point I started calling them our slumber party. So we would like intentionally call each other, watch movies, fall asleep with one another, and then wake up the next day and still be on the phone together and like wake each other up. And then he was also just like heavily flirting, heavily complimenting a lot. And this is, I think, when I started to feel some type of way, because I'm like, okay, I think we're on a path where I could develop like an attachment. And he had made it clear from day one, no exclusivity, because he brought it up that first time so many times, and no attachment. And I said, I believe people's words. I do not care what's going on with us. If you have said these things and you haven't said you've had a change of heart, I'm gonna believe what you said the first time. I don't care. Like, I'm not, that's what it is. So I think I honestly caught feelings, and I caught my little virtual feelings. This is someone that I wanted to spend my virtual time with, and I was like, okay, but he's made it clear that he doesn't do relationships and he doesn't do exclusivity. He had multiple reasons for that. At first, he made that just because there was one very specific reason why he didn't do relationships, and I kind of don't want to bring it up just in case people know who I'm talking about and they don't need to know all his business, but he had a very specific reason. But then I just was like, okay, I have to acknowledge this is happening. And I had this very direct conversation with him. I was like, well, I do feel some type of way, and you've made it clear that you don't want that. You don't want any type of attachment. And I made it clear, like, I came here very open and looking for that type of attachment. So I was like, I don't think we should continue on the path that we're on. Ooh, child, that came out rough. I do not like this look. What has happened? I'm very out of practice with doing my makeup. It's only been a month, but like, I need to watch a tutorial. For anyone that thinks this is a tutorial, it is not. This is me butchering my makeup and talking about shit. Yeah, so we had the conversation where I was like, clearly I feel some type of way about this. I've caught virtual feelings. I'm all caught up, and I am at the place where if this were anybody else, that attachment would lead somewhere. We could plan to just like keep exploring it, continue doing what we're doing, and the idea is we could possibly date or have a virtual relationship. But he's so closed off to virtual relationships. I'm like, I don't feel like just doing this for no reason. I don't feel like investing all this time just to like stay here in this circle where we don't go anywhere with it. And I was like, I really don't get the point of that. And he was just like, well, that's what he likes to do. He likes to just have fun, be in the moment. And I was like, I don't want to have this dead end ass fun. Like, I just wasn't for it. And like, I don't think either of us are wrong in this situation. I think this is another conversation you have to have very early on before you get attached, because you need to know like what the person's end game is. Is this something that you would allow to develop into a virtual relationship, or is this something that you just want to experience what you're doing now? You want to be friends, you want to be able to flirt, you want to maybe do some adult stuff, and that just be it. I was like, I ain't for it. And I'm not for putting all this time and effort and energy into someone who I'm just an option for. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. When people are like dating in real life or virtually, a lot of people have multiple options, especially when you're not committed to anyone, and that is totally fine. It's just like not my cup of tea, and I didn't want to do it. And I didn't want to be like girl from his first story who I'd be all caught up thinking like we were special, and then he started posting up with another girl. Like, I wasn't feeling it. So I was like, we're gonna do this. We had this conversation where I wanted to have a friendship breakup then. And then, you know, we talked about it and we're like, okay, the actual friendship here I think is worth saving. To me, I was like, why? He didn't really, I guess he did explain why. We had good conversations. Okay, so that sounded harsh. I wasn't like, why would this be worth saving because I didn't value the friendship? I did. But I saw the like heartbreak as a bigger risk than just having this friendship that we only knew each other for 2 months, mind you. All this happened in the span of 2 months because we were talking a shit ton. But at this point, I was like, I can see, one, my feelings getting hurt in this situation. And if my feelings get hurt, I know I'm just a vengeful Scorpio. I'm not going to do it intentionally, but I'm going to hurt your fucking feelings. So at that point, I recognized the risk for that. And I thought that was way worse than just losing this friendship that we have for 2 months. Because I was like, if this gets worse or deeper, we in for some shit. I think at that point too, we were talking so much that I honestly don't think we were that concerned about friendship, because that was only like a month in. I think we had just grown accustomed to one another, because we were texting at least every single day. I think we even would get on a call, even if it was just for a couple minutes every single day at that point. For me, that's what I do in a virtual relationship. That is my virtual relationship. I've defined it before, and everything that we were doing was my virtual relationship. And then this is also when he shifted reasons like why he doesn't do virtual relationships. As I was talking about, like, that's where I would see this going. But it became less about the first reason he gave and more about like, oh, he doesn't have time, things are hectic for him, he doesn't ever log into SL. He kept saying that, and I think that's still to this day what frustrates me, because even in our last conversation, he's like, I don't log in SL, like I could never commit to a relationship because I don't log in SL. And I'm like, from day one, he knows I don't log into SL. Either he's just not listening, or he's just using that as an excuse instead of just saying, I don't see you in that way. But that's what's confusing, because right, this is when I would just be like, okay, he's just not that into you. He doesn't see you as relationship material, even though everything you're doing right now is a relationship. He doesn't see you that way. But then he would contradict that by literally saying the opposite, saying like, I really like you, I really like spending time with you, I really like everything that we do now. And then when I say, okay, all this cute shit needs to stop, like stop flirting with me, stop complimenting me, stop telling me how much you're into me, like just stop all that. If we're gonna be friends, we're gonna be friends, and that's gonna be it. Again, he made a big deal of this. He made it like it was gonna be such a big emotional like pull to be able to do that. But for whatever reason, I was like, okay, we'll try it, we'll see how it works, and then we'll move on. But yeah, he kept talking about like, it would be very hard to not flirt, it'd be very hard to like not be suggestive, complimenting a lot. He was just like making it like it was a big deal. Like he wants to be able to do those things, but he wanted no attachment and nothing exclusive. I'm just assuming he wanted friends with benefits. But then even when I was like, you're gonna get no benefits, he was like, I really still want your friendship. So we tried. And there was like a little brief period where I like just tried not to give a F, because one, I was planning for like my surgery and I was going through all this stuff, and I was like, I really don't feel like really focusing on this that much. So I tried it his way for a second and it didn't work for me. But yeah, so then like more weeks went on. Damn it, son of a bitch. So before this turns into like a repeat of the first video, I need to say here, he was very upfront and honest about who he was from the beginning. That he doesn't do attachment, doesn't do exclusivity. And I knew these things, and I continued, and I developed feelings. I mean, it was very easy to do, because like, but at this point he's also saying like he's really into me and all this type of stuff. So anyway, feelings were involved. I'm also gonna add, he's charming AF. But then, you know, I was going through a lot with some stuff. And he was super supportive, and I mean like really supportive during something that I went through. Maybe as supportive as people in my real life. Literally like would check in on me all the time, he would call me, we would talk on the phone a lot. He even like talked to my real life. I think that kind of added fuel to the whole attachment thing, because like I was going through something serious and he was there. And like had already been a little attached at this point. Granted, like a couple weeks went by and I detached completely. Like wall up, you get no access to my feelings. But as this went on, I felt very much attached to him. I felt like very fond of him. But again, remembering like who he was and what the reality was, I had to keep myself grounded. You know, all of that, we were past all of that. He low-key disappeared. Like it would be like before, we would message each other all the time. Even before this situation was going on with me, we'd be messaging each other all the time. Like things were fun. We would enjoy each other's company. Like at this point, it just seemed like neither of us had time for each other. We weren't even really talking. If I sent him a Discord message, I was getting a response like 12 hours later. He wasn't trying to call anymore. Like we could never find time. There was even a point where I think we tried to do a movie night. It didn't happen when we were originally supposed to, because he was busy. And then when he was ready, I was busy. And then when I hit him up to like do it, he responded like 8 hours later. And then so like just more and more time continued to go on where we weren't really talking. And I honestly considered just ghosting him. Like I was just like, let me just like not respond at all anymore. Let's just like put this to bed. Because clearly, to me in that moment, it felt like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, something was in the way, right? It bothered me. And I was like, the fact that it bothers me that we're not talking and we're supposed to be really practicing this like friends only situation. If I still felt like he was just a friend, it wouldn't bother me. It does not bother me when I go weeks without talking to my friends. Like I have those type of friendships. But I was like, the fact that it's bothering me, I must still feel some type of way. And if I still feel some type of way, that can't work with this dude, because this dude doesn't do attachment. He does feeling. He's made it very clear that he has feelings involved in this, but he's very comfortable and like happy with doing nothing with those. And especially because he always, every time I brought up a conversation like this, he would bring up like he doesn't do exclusivity, even though I never mentioned it. Like, I need to make it clear at this point, where we were in our friendship, I did not want a relationship with him like at that moment. I just didn't want to have the type of relationship we had with someone who's a dead end. And he was a dead end. Like, he just wants to stay in the same cycle of having whatever we had together. And I'm assuming also having that with other women, because he always took so much time to highlight how he doesn't do exclusivity. I say that to bring up the fact that both times that I brought this up, he would randomly say, I'm not having like these type of conversations with anyone else. I wouldn't have the time or energy. I honestly might just read a message, because it just really directly contradicts what he's always said. Hold on. I keep trying to close his DM because I don't want to accidentally, you know how you like, if I have someone's DM open, I'm gonna accidentally message them. So when is my Discord friend list this long? We gotta delete these people. I like a short Discord friends list. At one point he sassed me too, like in this conversation, and granted, I don't think I've ever fully just been super blunt with how irritated it was for me. Because for me, I find it very disrespectful because at one point I acknowledged the fact that what we had together is what I define as a virtual relationship. So I was like, everything we're doing is a virtual relationship for me. But I find it disrespectful for someone to say they don't want a relationship, but want to do all the things that you would do in a relationship. And I like, especially when they know like your stance on it. Like if we shared that same opinion, then no. If he didn't know, then no. But because he knew exactly how I felt about those situations, I just felt like it was disrespectful that he would keep like, one, complaining that I was saying, I just want to be friends. I don't want this to be all complicated. When I was saying it's simply because I don't want to like get caught up in a situation. I did everything I did because it was a natural response to how I feel about you. Don't think I'm out here doing this with everyone. I don't have the bandwidth, time, or energy. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if you're not doing it with everyone. You've told me every single time I brought up possibly having feelings for you, because he says he has feelings for me randomly, or says he feels some type of way, or he likes me or whatever. So every time I would bring that up, he would bring up the fact that he doesn't do anything exclusive. So I'm like, even if you're not doing this with everyone, it is your intention. So even if you aren't even talking to one other person is more than I feel like being involved with. Like, I don't want to be your second option. I don't even want to be the first one and you have a second option. So I was like, I don't care if it's one person or everyone, it's all the same to me. And he would say I don't do exclusive, but also say these things in the same breath. And I'm just like, your words don't mean anything right now. Oh, but then the next line, child, when I tell you, the way I wanted to snap, this is such a long message, I'm not gonna like read it all, but he was like, you've been giving me ultimatums since we started talking. But like, I think that's important. If I'm saying I'm open to relationships, I'm looking for people to have those type of relationships with, and you're like, I don't do relationships, I don't do exclusivity, and I'm saying like, we're saying the opposite. Like, even from the beginning, I was like, we probably shouldn't talk because we believe we're in opposite places right now. But he wanted to continue talking, so I was like, if we continue talking, this is the deal. So he's like, you've been giving me ultimatums since I started. I couldn't flirt with you, I couldn't hit on you, like all this. I'm like, that's just not a friendship to me. And I'm like, okay, if you want to have these friendships with a bunch of women where you are flirty with them, go do that. That's totally fine. I just said I don't want to be a part of it. We didn't really have a conversation this time. The first time I brought this up, we had a very long conversation. It didn't get anywhere. Because I genuinely don't think he understands what I'm saying. Like, I think and he brought it up again. So this is the most recent conversation. This is after, one, I've defined to you guys what I consider a virtual relationship. I've defined to him what I consider a virtual relationship. And he's like, I'm just treating you how I naturally feel like I want to treat you. Wait. I didn't want to catch feelings either, but I'm not ready to commit to anything RL or SL, but here we are. SL, I can barely keep my crib because I don't have the time or energy to log on. I'm not going to tell you let's date, then never long on. That's not fair to you. After I've said multiple times, that's not what I consider a virtual relationship. I don't need to see you in Second Life ever. or like literally what we're doing is a virtual relationship. So what you're saying, what we're currently doing, you don't have time for, which I mean may have been the case, because I said he got real quiet the last 2 weeks, but I'm just assuming he just has another fun buddy. And like for me, especially when I think I got little, because I had less energy to fight it, so I wasn't super like stop flirting with me, and over the past couple weeks I had just had surgery and I was just like, whatever, do you, I'm open to everything, I'm alive, I survived. But like during all of that, or right after all of that, that's when he like disappeared. The simple fact that I was like, well, he's gone silent, he's like not really that interested here. Well, it's not that he's not that interested, he's not as interested as before. And I'm assuming it's because I've told him like we can't be all flirty or whatever, because one, give me my time back, I'll find someone who is interested in all that kind of stuff, and two, like if this feels unnatural for you, it's not good for you either. But I was like, the simple fact that I'm again bothered by how silent he had gotten and said nothing. Like he hadn't said like, oh, real life's gonna be busy or this or that. So I'm just gonna assume like whatever the F. I'm just gonna assume it's like a lack of interest. And I'm like, this wouldn't bother me if I didn't feel some type of way. And if we're talking about we're only gonna be friends and I'm still feeling some type of way, then we just gotta cut it out. Like we gotta stop playing this little game, end it. So I don't know. That was a very long like I met someone who I was getting along with, that it was easy to open up. I was sharing a lot of information about myself, sharing a lot of like really deep things. We were having really good, deep conversations. And he was someone from the beginning said he wasn't into relationships, virtual relationships, or real life ones. Like none. He was into none of it. He does nothing exclusive. He brought up his no exclusivity thing all the time, but I caught feelings nonetheless, and he said he did too, but he is comfortable having feelings and doing nothing with them. I don't get it, and I don't want to be like hostile to the situation, because like it's normal. The first time I filmed this, I feel like it came off as very much like he was like a F-boy. I don't think he's an F-boy. I think he's someone who wants, I don't even want to say like the attention of a lot of women, but I don't know. Part of me felt like he enjoyed gaining my affection, because there were so many conversations where it was like he was trying to pull it out of me to say that I was into him. And I'm like, if you know you don't want any type of attachment, like why do you want to hear that so bad? So part of me does think he likes to have at least a couple people who are really into him that he's into, and just like entertain those conversations. For me, that's just not my thing. And I remember there was this one time he said he like recognized when I put a wall up, and I was like, I put a wall up. I was like, he's never even been able to answer like why he feels this way about these type of things. Like he's never even explained it, and I've asked, and he's like never answered. So I was like, I have a wall up, sir. And like I said, there was originally a different reason why he said he doesn't do relationships, and he would never like go into the details. Like he told me why, but he would never go into the details on what like led him to believe that. So I was like, if anyone has wall up, it is you. You have presented only very convenient things. That's where I am now. I still like my number 5 relationships. I'm still going to do them. I don't know why I do it. Like I said, I think you need to know why you're into it, because these are relationships I don't want to cross over into real life. Like maybe we could be friends in real life, but that is like the most. I don't know. It's cool to like be able to like kick it after a long day. I think that's what it is. Because before, if after a long day, if I didn't want to like go out or do anything, I would get on SL. Because I don't do that all the time now, it's like I could chill, come home, and kick it with someone and not necessarily have to get on SL. I could possibly get on SL or somewhere else with them, or I could just talk to them, and that could be it. And I think that's why I like these virtual relationships. Not because like I'm looking for romance. It's just because like, I don't know. I just like it. Who knows? Maybe we'll do a whole video on like why we're into virtual relationships to begin with. I think I talked about everything I want to talk about. I don't know. Once I go to edit this, it's gonna be a mess. Let me read his message again. I don't even know if I fully read it, because like I was angry, but I didn't want him, like I didn't want to end it in a bad place. And I was like, if I let him know I'm irritated by a lot of stuff, we're gonna get into an argument in this friendship in a bad place. And I was like, I'd rather just end it in a good place. Try to give him an explanation. I gave him, like, it was an honest explanation. It was just like not very detailed, and it was a conversation we've had before, so it was enough. Like I wasn't just like, we're done, bye. It was like, see, now fam, I'm gonna go ahead and interrupt myself here, because I ended it poorly. Like one, I was just vague, and I think at the moment, I'm telling you, I think I get like naturally hostile when I'm trying to protect myself. And I was still angry in this video. So I am really minimalizing that I felt super hurt by him, and I don't know. Like, I legit, because that was where I was. The option was I was literally thinking about just like, I'm not gonna respond to anymore. Okay, I'm gonna ghost him basically. And then I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to like just end it and say, this is just the end of it. And I was short. I gave very vague reasons why. I think at some point I was like, look, feel better about it. Neither of us want this. There was all attitude in it, but like nice attitude. Like it was a little passive aggressive, I think. I don't think I ended that in a very good place. I thought about like trying to go back now that I've thought through things and just like give him the real, but honestly, I sent him a message at one point and I just felt like he don't want to talk about it. He's over it. He doesn't want to think about it. And I was like, I don't want to like stress you out and bring up other more crap. So I think I'm just gonna leave it alone. But in this video, I was bullshitting. I did not end it nicely. I know we're friends. Like, granted, the friendship was more than friends. Like, if I had a virtual relationship and I had the friendship I had with him, and I think same for him, if he had a virtual relationship, because he's done it before, he's had virtual relationships, like if he had a virtual relationship and had the friendship we had, I think it would be a breach of that relationship. So it was more than a friendship, but I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, and we've tried to completely restrict it. And you talk about, you feel like you're punished and you feel guilted because it's not, I don't know, it was just, we're not on the same page. We don't need to be friends at all if it's going to be complicated. And if like it's too restrictive for you, it's not good for you. If it's too much for me, it's not good for me. So I didn't say much, but I sure was ready to cuss him out after this one message. And I was like, you know what? No, like I'm not mad at him now. You know what's funny? So I think this is like the second day after that friendship breakup. And I was thinking, because, at one point we were talking every day. I was like, this is going to be weird not to talk to him. But like I said, the past couple of weeks, he's been kind of MIA. So it didn't feel any type of way. See, here she is again with the bullshit. No. So yeah, no, gotta admit, the first like day or two, I didn't feel any type of way. I was like, whatever. I think, it was that hostile like reaction. You're like, whatever. He didn't want what I want, then fine, bye. And then at some point I started to miss the friendship. Like, it's very hard for me to separate. And I told him this from the beginning. Like, he used to always play around with like throwing out that he had feelings and like I said, he like wanted me to say it so bad. And I was like, I don't think you realize what you're getting yourself into. If I get feelings and I know this is a dead end, it's not going to be a comfortable situation for us. Like, I'm not going to continue to entertain it. So we always knew this was going to happen because he knew I'm not going to entertain being friends with someone that I have feelings for that I can't go anywhere with. Like I said, first couple days, just my hustle ass was like, whatever, don't care. Next couple of days, I was like, okay, I really miss talking to him. He was legit good dude. And like I said, hormonal time of the month. So I went through it. I was super sad. I was like hurt. I was missing him, but also mad at him. And then I was like mad at myself for letting it go on so long. And then I felt bad. I was like, I ended that so terribly. And then I was like, I don't want to ever get close to anyone in Second Life. I deleted my Facebook. I kept Messenger because like I got to talk to sponsors and shit. But like I kept my Facebook page but deleted my profile. I was like, I'm never getting close to anyone SL again because it's always complicated. It can't just be easy, right? You like someone, I like them, we talk, boom, that's it. I was like, it's always something with SL people, like always something complicated. So I don't think that was just me going through all the emotions. But yeah, no, I was not like, oh, whatever, wipe my hands clean, move on to the next. I'm still feeling some type of way. Like, I'm still upset. There were a couple of days where I was like still checking on his profile, and then I deleted Facebook, so I couldn't, like I said, I was deleting Facebook because I was like, I don't want to be close to anyone anymore. But I low-key deleted Facebook, so I would stop like looking at him or like checking in on him. And like I said, there was that one message that I sent him where, because originally when I did this, I was like, we don't have to be strangers. We can talk to each other on Facebook. And he was like, all right, but like I'm going to need like a week or something. I'm going to need like some time. He said a week. And when I sent him this message, it was like only a few days later, but this was like the day I was starting to like miss him. And I was like, all right, let me just tell him. Cause I literally debated about like, should I tell him about this video? Should I not? I don't know. None of my friends were helpful because like they just didn't respond when I was like, what do y'all think? I debated with it and I was just like, let me just tell him, because I feel like it would be shitty for him to happen upon this video and not know what's coming. Like, I don't know how deep his feelings were, but if it were me, the way I felt now, I would be offended. So I told him about it. I didn't tell him details about it, just said it was coming up. And he was like, I don't have the time to talk about this. And I was like, he implied that he was like stressed out, other things were going on. He doesn't have time to talk about it, doesn't want to talk about it. So when I was considering like maybe I should give him the full explanation that I'm like kind of given in this video that I never have told him, I was like, nah, let's just leave it alone, move on. You had your little virtual heart broken, and that is the end of the story. And what was like uncomfortable about it, and I think what's still uncomfortable, is no one knew, like people knew we were acquainted. I don't think people knew that I had any sort of feelings involved, because no one in my second life or my virtual friends would ever expect me to have developed feelings for someone. Like I said, this is the first time it's happened for me, so they didn't know how deep it was. So it's very hard to try to tell them I'm going through something that they don't even know was ever serious. And you can't tell people in your real life because they don't fucking know who this is. So it's just like, all right, I'll just sit here and talk to my camera, I guess, because no one else knows. So that's what's been, I think, a little challenging. But it is what it is. You live and you learn. Moral of the story, figure out what you want for yourself and figure out what you want with another person and be very transparent about it. I think I still have like a huge question mark around like a lot of his thought process around all of this. And I remember some of these conversations, he was just uncomfortable talking about it and like would be like, I don't know, I never thought about things in this way. So I stopped, pressing forward, and I stopped asking more questions. But I don't know, be super real. I think more of the story is neither of us compromised what we wanted, and I think that's a smart move. And I just think that is the sole reason that we couldn't continue our friendship, because we just wanted different things and we experience our feelings in different ways. Anyway, I'm gonna end this video. I don't know if I wrap it up here, but let's see. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. I don't know. I don't think either of us is to blame in this situation. I think we're in two different places. We want two different things, and we have two different outlooks on what virtual relationships are. I think he may be used to a number 2 relationship, and he's either a 2 or a 7. He's had a 7 before, so I think he might have been a 7, to be honest, and I'm a 5. So I don't think it's compatible. But I want to know what you guys think, if you have identified any other type of relationships, or if you would have kept going with this friendship, or if you would have, like, I don't know, just gone with the flow and see where it goes. I believe people too. When they say, I don't do relationships, this is not going to develop into a relationship, I believe them. Like, some people are like, you never know where it's going to go. But I'm that person. If I am in my head say, this is not going to go anywhere, it's not going to go anywhere. Him like saying go with the flow type thing, it was a go with the flow to nowhere. But tell me what you guys think, what you would have done. I'm really curious to know. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you want to talk about next. But you guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed your time here, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing, por favor, if you haven't, and drop a comment. They really do help so much. But you guys enjoy the rest of your time. I will see you in the next video. Bye.
Yeah, no, you ain't no psycho. You're not like the others, no. No changing behaviors. Not sure how to act around you. So colorful and bright, yeah. I wanna be a 9 to 5. You made me come alive, babe. I wanna be the time of your life. Come change my life just for a while. Let's go for a ride now. Outside the club, we come alive. Let's go for a ride, yeah. I wanna get to know you. I don't wanna leave so soon. You and me forever, or maybe just for tonight. Do you wanna get to know me?